Anytime people are calling you, it ought to go to Pat Live. Pat Live, just ask them 4 questions. What's your name? Do you have a house for sale? Which is the biggest question. What's the address? And what's your phone number? Somebody will be calling you shortly. Then that information goes to your VA to call to get this sheet filled out. Pat Live does not fill out this sheet. Your VA does. So when I run classifieds, I want to run them to a website, or I want to run them to a phone number. Phone number, patlive.com/Ron LeGrand. Just tell them you want to set it up with Ron LeGrand script. Cost you $80 a month for the line and $1 a minute for them to take the call. $80, no contracts, no long-term anything. $80 a month plus $1 a minute. Cost of doing business. Now you got a 24-hour answering service taking all your inbound calls from sellers. Only from sellers. Tomorrow we talk about buyers. Today we're talking about sellers. And I can tell you right now, if you don't have Pat Live answering those calls, you're going to lose some of them. And this is a big discussion I have with people all the time. They try to do everything themselves. They try to save a few pennies. They try to take the professional services out of the loop. And what they do is they wind up shooting off their foot in the process. Guys, if you take calls yourselves, here's what's going to happen. Number one, they're going to come when you least want them, like when you're driving down the highway and a cell phone rings because you forwarded it to your cell phone. And obviously you can't sit there and take the information because you're driving down the highway. That probably would not be a good thing to do. So you say, well, listen, can you call me back? I mean, shoot me. Somebody's calling me with a house for sale. I'm telling them to call me back. You know, I deserve to be beaten. They're not going to call you back. Somebody needs to be available every time the phone rings to take down the information from people who have a house for sale. 24 hours a day, 100% of the time. And that's Pat Live. Secondly, they're going to call you if you take the call when you are least prepared, in a bad mood, just had a fight with your spouse or your children, or tired, or you're watching television and you just don't feel like messing with it. And you're not going to be a very good person to talk to at that point. Pat Live is always friendly, easy to talk to, speaks fluent English 24 hours a day. They have a whole floor of people answering the phone. That's their job. Screen pops up, there's the 3 or 4 questions they got to ask. That's all they got to do is fill in those blanks, email it to you, then you send it to your VA and have this filled out on your time, your schedule, with no pressure, and they're never going to get a busy signal calling Pat Live. They're going to get a busy signal calling you. If you take these inbound calls from sellers, it's going to cost you deals. I don't think this, I know this. Plus, it won't be long before you will hate to hear the phone ring. How do you think I know all this? I took calls for 2 years. Buyers and sellers destroyed our lifestyle. All day, every day. Phone ringing. I got the nauseous when I hear the phone ring. I knew darn well it was my business. If the phone didn't ring, I didn't have a business. But I still hated to answer it because my whole life spent on telephone, saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. Tomorrow when we talk about selling houses, I want to make that point again, of which most of you are going to totally ignore because you think the way to sell houses is for you to take all the calls and do all that work yourself because you're going to lose a buyer. Well, what you're going to gain is your sanity. If I can get you to get out of the way and let the system work, I can promise you you'll like the system.